Robert Cormier attended Fitchburg State University, and because of his connection to the university, he wanted to donate his collection here so that students and faculty and other scholars who lived in the area could study his work and his life here in this area. Although a significant portion of the Cormier collection has been digitized, there's an extensive amount of the collection that's still on paper only, and that's what's housed down here in the archive. So we're going to take a quick look at the extent of the collection so you can see really how much material there is to do research in. While some portions of the Cormier collection have been digitized, there are a lot that have not. So the entire collection is 107 boxes of material, so there's a lot to look through, and you can do some fairly extensive research in the Cormier collection. I'm going to show you a few of the items you can find in the non-digitized part of the collection. I'm going to show you a part of the documents that are associated with the book The Chocolate War. So what we're looking at here is two different boxes. This box contains drafts of The Chocolate War that Cormier wrote as he was trying to finish up his novel. So what you will find in here is typewritten manuscripts. He wrote The Chocolate War on a typewriter, and you'll find typewritten manuscripts in here that have been heavily edited. As you can see, there's a lot of, some of these are editor's notes, but some of them are his notes as well. So it really helps us to understand the process that he went through when he wrote the novel, which is something really interesting to study. You can see kind of where he started and what he was trying to say in his narrative, and then how he tweaked it to make it more powerful or more effective, or just change the plot lines a little bit. In addition to the annotations you see on these draft copies, you will also see in this box, these are first editions of various publications of the novel. So you'll see the first edition here of the British public version of the novel. You'll see a first edition here that's paperback of the Spanish copy of the novel. So it's really interesting to track it and see kind of, this is the hardcover American edition.
I recognize that one.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting to track kind of the way, how the publication was managed kind of globally, you know, and really track how the book spread across the world through the different editions that were published. In this box, what you'll see is letters to Robert Cormier from people who read the book. So these are fan letters from young adults, correspondence from teachers and parents. There was even some correspondence from various people in the local Catholic Church who had commentary on what he had written in The Chocolate War, since The Chocolate War is set in a private school. So there's a lot of really interesting information here to go through, and there are different ways you can piece this information together to answer the questions you have when you're doing your research. When researchers come to the archive to look at the non-digitized portions of the collection, the way that they figure out what they want to look at is using the collection guide. The collection guide is actually available online on the library's website, so you can get a digital copy of this to look at if you want to take a look. But what the collection guide does is describe the collection, describe how we acquired it, talk a little bit about the history of Robert Cormier, and then it gives you a listing of what you can expect to find in all of the folders throughout the collection. So, for example, here, this is a collection summary that explains kind of how the collection arrived here and what the scale of the collection is. As you flip through this finding aid, you'll see that the first section actually contains information about the newspaper columns he wrote. So in addition to being a young adult author, he was also a newspaper columnist. So this covers both aspects of his career as a writer, as a journalist, but also as a novel writer. So you can see here the columns are arranged by year, and you can look at the years that most interest you, and it also lists what papers he wrote for, because he wrote for several. So you can explore all of that as you need to, and then this is how we know how to retrieve the information you're most interested in looking at. When you go into the novels portion of the collection, you'll notice they're listed by the name of the novel in the order that they were published, I believe. So it's actually going to tell you, this here is the movie versions of the different novels. So if you're interested in like the script for the Chocolate War, you'll see that there's a folder for that. Actually, several folders for that. There's also some, I believe, interviews and some fan correspondence and things like that in this area. So one of the reasons why this collection is available for research, and one of the reasons why we've organized it in the way that we have, is because researchers go fairly in depth with the type of work that they do. So they're not just interested in kind of what the book says, but also how the book was formed, what was the motivation for writing the book in the first place, what kinds of themes did he want to explore. But it also gives people a chance to discover kind of all the unknown pieces of the work that he did. So researchers want to go a little more in depth than just kind of the obvious, I read the book and here's what I think it means to me. They're looking to answer questions that are in depth, or they're looking to discover something new that they haven't discovered about the book or the author before. And primary resources are really valuable in that way. They go very in depth, sometimes they get very personal, and primary resource research is a way of you finding your own firsthand information and then kind of answering your own questions or forming your own narrative about a person or an event or even a novel in a way that nobody's done before. But you're getting the value and the interest of a firsthand account that's unfiltered and not anyone else's interpretation of the material. It's your interpretation of the material. And so that's the value of primary resources, and going basically directly to the source to find out what they were thinking, not what somebody else's analysis of the book is or the person is. It's your story to tell in a way when you look at the primary resources. It's your analysis to do.